Let me ask you something. Have you ever had a moment where your mind just wouldn't shut off, where one negative thought turned into another and then another until you found yourself stuck, anxious, angry, or even hopeless without knowing how you got there? Pause. Make eye contact. You're not alone. We've all been there. Because the truth is, your mind can be your greatest weapon or your worst enemy. Build intensity. Most people are walking around every day with a war going on inside their head, and they've never been taught how to win it. They wake up tired, filled with self-doubt, comparing themselves to others, reliving old pain, fearing a future that hasn't even happened. And they wonder why they feel stuck. Pause. Drop your tone to something more certain, hopeful. But what if I told you that you have the power to stop that cycle right now? That you could interrupt the pattern, shift your emotional state, and reset your mind for strength, clarity, and peace. Not someday, today, right here, right now. Feel meant toward invitation. In the next few minutes, I'm going to give you 6 powerful, proven strategies to break free from negative thinking and step into a more powerful, more positive version of yourself. And I promise you this, if you stay with me and you apply what I share, this won't just be another motivational talk. It will be a mental reset that changes your life. You see, the very first step to changing anything in your life is this. You must become aware. Not just vaguely aware, but sharply conscious of what's happening inside your mind. Because here's the deal. You can't change what you don't recognize. Negative thoughts don't just appear out of nowhere. They sneak in quietly, disguised as your normal thinking patterns. They're so automatic, so habitual, you don't even realize you're caught in their grip until you feel the weight, stress, anxiety, frustration dragging you down. Most people live their lives on autopilot, letting their minds run wild with stories that don't serve them. Stories like, I'm not enough, this will never work, or I always mess things up. These thoughts feel real because we've replayed them over and over so many times they've become the soundtrack of our lives. But here's the truth. Those thoughts are not facts. They're just mental patterns, and patterns can be changed. The moment you catch yourself in the act of thinking negatively, you create a crack in the dam. That crack is your opportunity. Awareness creates power. It's like stepping into the control room of your own mind and flipping the switch from autopilot to conscious pilot. When you start to watch your thoughts without judgment, like a neutral observer, something incredible happens. You realize you are not those thoughts. You are the thinker behind them. You have the ability to choose what you focus on, what you nurture, and what you let go. This isn't about beating yourself up when a negative thought pops in. That's just adding fuel to the fire. It's about developing the muscle of awareness, the skill to notice your mind's chatter and say, okay, I see you. I'm not going to let you run the show. It's the difference between being controlled by your mind and taking control of your mind. And here's a practical way to do this. Whenever you feel stuck or overwhelmed, pause for a moment and ask yourself, what am I thinking right now? Say it out loud if you have to. Naming your thoughts breaks their power. It's like shining a flashlight into a dark room. You suddenly see what's really there, and it loses its scary edge. From that moment forward, you can begin to choose a different thought, a thought that serves you better. Maybe it's a reminder of your strengths, a hopeful vision of the future, or simply a thought of gratitude for something small but meaningful. This is how the mind begins to reset itself, one conscious thought at a time. Remember, you're training a habit, not just thinking once or twice differently. The more you practice this awareness, the stronger your mental muscles get, and the less power negative thoughts have over you. You're rewiring your brain, creating new pathways that lead to freedom, clarity, and peace. This simple yet profound step, catching the thought, starts the entire transformation. Because before you can reset your mind for positive thinking, you have to stop being a passenger in the car of your mind and start taking the wheel. And that, my friend, is where true change begins. Once you've caught that negative thought, that moment when you become aware, You have to do something powerful with it. Because awareness alone won't change your experience unless you interrupt the pattern. Think about it. Your brain loves routine. It's wired to repeat the same neural pathways again and again, like a scratched record stuck on the same old track. If you don't interrupt that cycle, you just keep replaying the same negative thoughts over and over, like a bad habit you can't shake. That's why this next step is absolutely crucial. You have to create a sharp, sudden break in your mental loop. Something that grabs your attention so forcefully that your brain has no choice but to stop, reset, and open up space for something new. I call this a pattern interrupt. It's like hitting the pause button on your mental replay. And don't underestimate how simple it can be. It might sound strange, but sometimes the most effective interrupt is something as basic as a loud clap, a quick shout of the word stop, or even standing up and stretching your body aggressively. It jolts your nervous system, shakes you out of the autopilot mode, and rewires your brain's focus instantly. It's almost like rebooting your computer when it freezes. You see, your brain is an emotional machine as much as a thinking machine. It responds to movement, sound, and sensory input. When you interrupt your thought pattern physically or audibly, you're activating different parts of your brain that weren't involved in that negative thinking. Suddenly, your mind gets a fresh signal, a new command that says, hey, pay attention here, not there. The beauty of this is that you don't have to wait for some magical moment or for all the conditions to be perfect. You can interrupt anytime, anywhere. You're not powerless in this battle against negative thoughts. You have tools right in your hands that can flip the switch instantly. But here's the secret. Interrupting the pattern isn't just about stopping negativity. It's about creating a gap, a moment of freedom between the old thought and what comes next. That gap is your opportunity to choose what you want to think, feel, and ultimately create. Without that gap, the mind rushes blindly into the same old reaction, the same old emotional response. So after you interrupt, don't just let the silence hang. Fill that space with something empowering. It might be a deep breath, a statement like, I'm in control, or recalling a moment when you felt strong and confident. You're not just breaking a bad habit, you're planting the seed for a new positive pattern to grow. Remember, every time you do this, you're training your brain to respond differently. It's like teaching a muscle new moves. At first, it feels awkward, but with repetition, it becomes natural, automatic. You're literally changing your brain's wiring, creating new pathways that lead to freedom from negativity. So don't wait for the negative thoughts to overwhelm you. Interrupt them. Break the cycle. Reset your mind with decisive action, and you'll start to reclaim your power over your emotions in your life. Here's something you need to understand deeply. Where your focus goes, your energy flows. Your mind is like a spotlight in a dark room. It shines brightly only where you point it. So if you keep shining that light on your problems, your fears, your doubts, what do you think happens? You get overwhelmed, stuck, and consumed by those very things. But if you can train yourself to redirect that spotlight just a little bit to what's working, to what's possible, your whole experience begins to change. This is a powerful truth that most people overlook. Negative thoughts feel so real because we've been conditioned to focus on what's missing or what's wrong. It's like a habit of scanning life for threats and failures. Our brains are wired to keep us safe, but sometimes that wiring keeps us stuck in survival mode instead of thriving mode. You've got to actively choose to break that habit. Ask yourself, what are you focusing on right now? Is it a mistake you made, a fear of what might happen, a painful memory? Now, what would happen if you consciously shifted your attention to something else? A success you had, however small, a moment when you felt proud, something you're grateful for, even if it seems insignificant. That shift changes everything because the mind can't focus on two things at once. I want you to start training your brain by asking empowering questions. Instead of, why does this always happen to me? Ask, what can I learn from this? Instead of, what if I fail? Ask, what's one positive step I can take right now? These questions redirect your focus from fear and helplessness to possibility and action. And when you focus on possibility, your body and mind respond with energy, hope, and creativity. It's not about ignoring reality or pretending everything is perfect. It's about choosing where to put your mental energy. When you focus on solutions, growth, and gratitude, you're not running from challenges, you're facing them with strength. You're activating a mindset that looks for opportunities instead of obstacles. I challenge you to try this right now. Think about something that's been troubling you. Feel the weight of that thought. Now gently, intentionally shift your focus to one thing you're grateful for today. It might be as simple as the air you're breathing, a person who supports you, or a small win you had this week. Notice how that feels. That feeling of gratitude shifts your physiology, your emotions, and your mental state. It creates momentum toward positivity. The power of focus is a muscle. The more you practice redirecting it, the stronger it gets. Eventually, this becomes automatic. Your mind starts seeking the good, the possible, and the empowering. And that's when you start creating a life filled with joy, resilience, and peace. Remember, you are the guardian of your mind's spotlight. Where you shine it, on fear or on hope, on failure or on opportunity. That's the reality you live. Choose wisely, because your focus shapes your destiny. Here's something that most people never realize. You are telling yourself a story every single day. A story about who you are, what you're capable of, and what your life is supposed to look like. The problem is, a lot of these stories are not true, or worse, they limit you. They hold you back from becoming who you were truly meant to be. Think about it. How many times have you caught yourself saying things like, I'm just not good enough, or I don't have what it takes, or this always happens to me? These aren't facts. They are stories you've repeated so many times, your brain accepted them as reality. But they're not. They are just words, beliefs, and narratives you've created or absorbed from others. The incredible news is this: you get to rewrite your story. You're the author, not the victim. You have the pen in your hand right now. Every time you repeat a limiting belief, you reinforce that old story. But every time you choose a new, empowering belief, you create a new storyline for your life. This is about more than just thinking positive thoughts. It's about intentionally crafting a narrative that supports your growth, your success, and your happiness. Imagine telling yourself, I am strong, I am learning and growing every day, I deserve success and joy. These aren't just empty affirmations. They are the building blocks of a new identity. But how do you start? It begins with noticing the stories you tell yourself, those automatic thoughts that show up without you even realizing it. Then you challenge them. Ask yourself, is this story really true? Is it helping me or holding me back? When you find a limiting story, question it, break it down, and look for evidence that contradicts it. You'll be surprised how often you find that your old story doesn't hold up under scrutiny. Next, replace that story with a new, empowering one. It might feel strange at first, even uncomfortable, because your brain is wired to stick with what's familiar. But that discomfort is the sign of growth. Keep repeating your new story, writing it into your daily thoughts, your conversations, your actions. This process is the essence of transformation, becoming the person you want to be, not the person your old thoughts have kept you stuck as. And the more you do it, the easier it becomes until your new story feels natural, automatic, and real. Remember, your words shape your reality. When you speak with conviction, when you live the story of a capable, confident, and worthy person, you start to attract the people, opportunities, and experiences that align with that story. Your mind and body follow the script you give them. So don't let your past define you. Don't live in the shadows of old limiting beliefs. Take that pen in your hand right now and start writing a new chapter. one filled with courage, possibility, and power. Because the story you tell yourself today will become the life you live tomorrow. Here's something powerful that most people overlook. Your body and your mind are inseparable. You can't think your way out of a bad feeling if your body is locked into it. Emotion is created by motion. What that means is your physiology, your posture, your breathing, your movement directly influences how you feel and how you think. If you want to reset your mind for positive thinking, you have to reset your body first. Think about how you feel when you're slouched over, breathing shallowly, maybe tired or overwhelmed. Your mind follows that energy. It becomes sluggish, heavy, and stuck in negative loops. Now imagine standing tall, shoulders back, chest open, taking deep, strong breaths. Instantly, your energy shifts. Your mind feels clearer. Your confidence rises. This is not just some feel-good theory. This is biology. Your nervous system responds to what your body does. When you move powerfully, you signal to your brain that you're ready, you're strong, you're capable. Even if you don't feel it yet, your body can lead the way, telling your mind it's time to step up. You can't be depressed or anxious when your body is engaged in a peak state. Your brain will follow. This is why movement is one of the most effective tools to break free from negative thinking. It might be as simple as standing up and stretching, going for a brisk walk, or shaking out your arms and legs. When you move, you're literally rewiring your brain. You're releasing tension, increasing oxygen flow, and flooding your system with positive neurotransmitters. And don't underestimate the power of your posture. A confident stance is a secret weapon. When you hold yourself with strength, your mind doesn't have a choice but to believe you're strong. So practice this often. Before you walk into a stressful situation, take a moment to ground yourself physically. Plant your feet firmly, raise your chin, and breathe deeply. These small physical actions will elevate your mental state. Breathing is another critical piece. Most people don't realize how shallow their breathing is when they're stressed or stuck in negative thought loops. Deep, diaphosphatic breathing, breathing from your belly rather than your chest, activates your parasympathetic nervous system. This calms your mind, reduces stress hormones, and opens the door for positive thinking to flow. You don't have to be an athlete or a yogi to use this. It's about becoming intentional with how you move and breathe throughout your day. The more you practice, the more natural it becomes, and soon you'll find you can shift your mental state quickly just by changing your body's signals. So here's the truth. Your mind can't outthink your body, but your body can lead your mind to a better place. If you want to reset your mind, start with your physiology. Move with purpose, breathe with power, and stand with confidence. The energy you cultivate physically will transform your mental landscape. Your mind is like a garden. Whatever you plant and nurture will grow. If you let weeds of doubt, fear, and negativity take root, they'll choke out every positive thought, every dream, every possibility. But if you plant seeds of hope, gratitude, and growth, and tend to them daily, those are the thoughts and beliefs that will flourish and transform your life. This means you have to be very intentional about what you feed your mind. The information you consume, the conversations you have, the media you watch or listen to, all of it becomes part of your mental landscape. If you fill your mind with toxic, negative, or limiting content, you're poisoning your garden. But if you surround yourself with empowering, uplifting, and inspiring influences, you create an environment where positive thinking can thrive. Think about the people you spend the most time with. Are they encouraging you to grow, to step into your power, to believe in yourself? Or are they constantly complaining, doubting, and dragging you down? You become like the company you keep. If you want to reset your mind for positivity, sometimes that means making tough choices about who you allow into your inner circle. Feeding your mind daily also means committing to a habit of learning and growth. This could be through books, podcasts, videos, or courses that expand your understanding, spark your inspiration, and reinforce empowering beliefs. The power of repetition is undeniable. What you hear and see consistently shapes what you believe. But it's not just about passive consumption. Affirmations, journaling, and intentional reflection are ways you can actively plant seeds in your garden. When you write down what you're grateful for, you water the soil of your mind with positivity. When you speak affirmations out loud, you reinforce your new story and beliefs. When you take time to reflect on your progress, you build momentum and resilience. Daily mental conditioning isn't a quick fix. It's a commitment to yourself and your future. It's the steady, consistent work of tending your garden so that over time, it blooms into a landscape of peace, joy, and unstoppable confidence. Remember, negativity doesn't stand a chance in a mind that's well fed with hope, purpose, and positivity. When you guard your mental gates, you control what thoughts enter and grow. This discipline is one of the most powerful ways to reset your mind permanently. You have the power to choose what seeds you plant every day. Make those choices wisely. Feed your mind with what lifts you higher, what pushes you forward, and what fuels your dreams.